Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I'm your host, Glenn Poole Harding, and tonight we have a very special guest. This basketball head was born and raised in New York City, but resides in Los Angeles, and is another McClancy grad that went on to do big things. After leaving college, like most basketball heads, find it difficult to transition to the next phase of life. That's when his cousin, Smush Parker, told him to come to Los Angeles to help him train. After establishing himself on the West Coast, this basketball head started purpose-driven training. That's right, one of the most elite training companies on the West Coast. He would go on to train high school, college, and professional players, and also got his hands on the wealthy elite out there in Beverly Hills and throughout California. And as the story goes, the rest is history. Help me welcome to the show, trainer extraordinaire, James Hunt.
Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped into the world of chaos, where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. 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 Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. 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 East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
Better you?
Much better.
Much better?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, so, like I like to ask everyone in the beginning, who introduced you to the game?
Who introduced me to my game? My father. He introduced me to my game, Paul Hunt, Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn guy. And, ever since a little kid, he always had me dribbling the ball and stuff like that. And, he just pretty much developed me from there into my whole basketball journey.
Nice. Again, whenever I hear the dads supporting their children, I like to salute the dads out there who put in that time with their kids. All right, so salute to your dad, man.
Appreciate that, man. He was.
So at what age did you fall in love with the game?
The age I fell in love with the game, about 5. When, me and my brother started school, and my brother Mason, he was very, from the jump. So I always wanted to be playing like him. So he was a year older than me. So, my dad had us doing that and, playing chess and stuff like that. Just trying to,
Right.
do the game of chess and basketball at the same time.
Wow. Hey, look, no better way to strengthen your mind than playing chess.
Yeah, actually, my dad was he was a grandmaster, so that's how he used to make a living for us. So he's playing different tournaments, stuff like that, and the house was full of chess pieces and stuff like that. So that's how he, especially in my earlier part of my life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. There's a park here in Bed-Stuy called Stuyvesant Park, where a lot of great chess players play every day, the same way they do in West Fork. But here in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy, they usually play down in Stuyvesant Park.
I'm familiar. I'm very, very familiar. Actually, my dad, a lot of my childhood, because I'm from the Lower East Side, New York, and a lot of my childhood, I would see my dad playing in Washington Square Park, right? West Fork.
Yes.
That West Fork Park. Everybody's playing chess, and it was a way of living to a certain degree. Besides basketball, for me.
Yeah, definitely. So you was born and raised. We're at New York.
Lower East Side, LaGuardia houses, right there on South Street in Clinton, 286 South Street. We came from a basketball family. Obviously from my dad. He had some really good family. He had some good players growing up. His family, Allen, he went to Boys and Girls High, or Boys High at the time. and always talked about him and Connie Hawkins and people like that of the family. Charlie Donovan, those Brooklyn guys. And,
Oh yeah. Did your dad play with those guys?
Yeah, that actually, Al's my cousin Connie's, my cousin's best friend. So like, we called each other cousins and stuff like that. And I never really got a chance to meet him until I moved out here, and had sat there with him a couple games out here that we were watching together, and he verified it, put him on the phone with Al and my dad, and they just sat there and spoke quite often.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. We here in Brooklyn, we always celebrate Connie Hawkins for being like the first New York City playground legend, right? The guy that everyone revered. Even though we, Kareem, who was Lou Alcindor when he was here, is the greatest basketball player from New York City. But it was Connie Hawkins who started that trailblazing aspect of playground basketball here in New York City.
Oh yeah, 100%. Just hearing a lot of great things about him, and doing my dad used
You're still buffering over there.
Boys and Girls High. Frank making.
Hold up. Let's go back because you was buffering for a while right there. Hold on, before we begin again, I need everybody in the room. If you hear me and my guy clear, give me a thumbs up. If you hear me and my guy clear, give me a thumbs up. What's up, everybody in the room? Give me a thumbs up. Salute. Illinois Basketball All-Stars, what's up?
We good?
I'm waiting to get some thumbs up from the people in the room. All right, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, we can start. We can begin again.
Yeah.
All right, so you were saying how the connection with Connie Hawkins in your family.
The connection with Connie Hawkins and my family, they grew up, Bergen Street. He was best friends with my cousin Al Lynch. So actually, my cousin was like an older brother to Connie, and Connie spent a lot of time in the house and stuff like that until he left to pursue his basketball careers outside of Brooklyn. So,
wow.
So you always Connie and stuff like that, and then I remember we was playing Phoenix in the play. Connie was there to see. And then I walked up to him. Obviously, he didn't know who I was. And then, I told him who my father was, and he immediately, you Jeffrey, you Al's cousin. And immediately, I put them on the phone with them, and Connie left him the whole second half. I had to go find him. He left my phone, I had to worry, obviously, because of Smooch and everything. I was like, I'll be right back. I'll meet you in the parking lot, whatever. And I had to find him. You know what I'm saying? So he was on the phone like third and fourth quarter with my dad and Al.
That's dope, man.
Yeah,
that's a great story. So do you remember the first team you was on?
The first team I played on, besides the little elementary school, was Henry Street Settlement. Henry Street Settlement was the first operation athlete. Played for Coach Kit, Coach Don, Coach Green. Basically we was going around. It was an AAU team just going around throughout the city playing against different parts of New York City. They were developed. That was the neighborhood AAU team. So
yes.
When I started to transition, I played for Kim. My first outside the neighborhood stuff was Kim All Stars, where it was me, Chris Sandy, Smush Parker, and a couple players like that. We would just be going over all around, Brooklyn, Bronx, just various different tournaments. McBurney on 23rd Street in Chelsea. But those are the two ones that coming up is the two teams I for, especially before high school.
And obviously, the next question I was going to ask is, who was the best player in your neighborhood? And I suggest it was your cousin.
Smush?
Yes.
Well, the best, the furthest Well, Smith's from Brooklyn. The best player in my neighborhood, in my opinion, well, Jason Williams made it the furthest. Obviously, New Jersey Nets, Jason Williams. He made it the furthest. Him and his mother and my mother were best friends, and he was really good friends with my older brother Gary, and we were all very close. But he lived across the street from my project, so they grew up ever since kids. I remember Jason a lot, but in my opinion, and then it's just who I mean, I didn't see Jason play like that. You know what I'm saying? You'll go to St. John's games or maybe this Christ the King.
Got you.
So I was very. But the guy that in my neighborhood that I looked up to was like a hero to me was a guy, you probably don't know him, but a guy named Calvin Lamb. He went to LIU. His son is Deron Lamb, who went to Kentucky. Played a bit Oak Hill. And actually Deron and them, they live in my building. So very close, family. Well, I call them family to me. And Cal was the first person I saw score 60 in the park.
Woo!
At a tournament. So 60, and like I would say 95% of them were jump shots. So that was the dude I always looked up to. I was like, this guy could play, and I always wanted to, even though he didn't make the NBA, whatever the case may be, that was a guy I always wanted to emulate.
Yeah, listen, the reason why I asked who's the best guy in the neighborhood, because it's usually that guy who doesn't make the league, right?
Exactly.
It's usually that guy who's busting everybody's ass. Probably didn't play high school ball, probably wasn't that disciplined, but when he got in the court, he just bust everybody's ass. And usually that's the guy who's the best player in the neighborhood, besides those dudes who move on to like the colleges and the NBA.
Yeah.
So salute. Say that guy's name again.
Calvin Lamb.
Cal Lamb. Yeah, somebody just said he was a beast.
Oh, he was just unbelievable. It was him, but he was much older. But I always wanted to emulate him because of how he played. And there was another kid. There was a dude in my age group in my neighborhood was this kid named Magic, left-handed Magic. There was two Magics, but those two guys were like one of the best basketball players of my age group in my neighborhood. Shout out to Magics. They were just very, very good, and I always wanted to emulate people like that. That knew how to play the game at a young age. Very tough-nosed, basketball players.
Yeah, they said your boy Cal was shooting threes from half court.
Yo, Cal was ridiculous. Like I said, of that 60 points, I would say 36 of them were from half court.
Wow.
Against a Brooklyn team. You know how it is in New York. Like you may do it in Manhattan, you may do it in Queens, but then nobody gives you respect unless you do it in Brooklyn. Like he did it against a Brooklyn team, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, oh, okay, you got that, but it wasn't against a Brooklyn team. No, Cal was different. He was just different from when I was ever since I was a little kid. So, shout out to Cal Lamb, shout out to Deron. I speak to Deron like several times a week to this day, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of basketball from New York City, and it has helped me out who I am today. It has been the foundation for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because being in New York City, it puts you in that competitive mind state. And it's like that all over. But I guess because New York City, we all on top of each other, I'm getting a crazy feedback. And it's getting on my nerves. You probably can't hear it, but I can.
I hear you perfectly.
All right, so I'm going to keep on going because I want to stop this. But since we're on top of each other in New York City, and even sometimes it builds up a defense mechanism because it's moving so fast, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it puts us in that mind state of just saying, you know what? When I go out here, it's mano a mano.
Yep.
When was that time that you felt like being a ball player, where you came into your own and accepted that challenge to someone that you thought was better than you, or people thought was better than you? Were you ever in a game like that where you kind of gave somebody the business to let you know that you was a ball player?
A lot of basketball. The thing about me was I grew late. I graduated high school like 5'8", 5'9". I was so tiny. And my freshman year, when I was at Canisius, I grew to 6'5". So I was 19 years old at the time. So I kind of wish, at high school I did okay. I played against a lot of great players, but I wish that, I would have reached my prime like a lot of these people do, reach their adult height and their physical, their adult height by 14, 15 years old. It was definitely, would have been different. I didn't really getting, good in basketball until I was like 21, 22, So I was a late bloomer. You know what I'm saying? So my better years was my college and my transition years to Los Angeles.
Nice. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna say, are we gonna come back to that question? All right. Where did you go to high school?
I went to I first started out at a small school called Environmental Studies. It's a real small school on 56th Street between 9th and 10th in Manhattan. And then played varsity, started all that, but the competition was PSALB. So the competition wasn't like that. But I was playing well.
Right.
In order to get respect in New York City, you had to either go to like the Lincoln or Christ the King, or be in the CHSA, Brooklyn, Queens, or Manhattan, Bronx. So my 11th grade year, I transferred to McClancy High School, and that was a huge transition for me because that's when I started to learn basketball under Coach Kent, and it was a lot. Everybody was good. Everybody in that team was good 1 through 15. So it took time for me to transition from PSALB to playing against some of the top players in the world every day. You get what I'm saying? So shout out to McClancy and all those players I played in the Catholic School League. From 95 to 97.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my guy J. Rob, Jamel Robinson, Russell Williams.
That's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, that all been on the show, and LeVar Falk as well.
Yep. Actually, I used to go to his. Coach Kent sent me to his thing that he used to have for the kids at BU.
Yeah, tell me about that, man. Because LeVar was saying he used to take a bunch of kids from New York out to the BU camps. How was that experience for you?
It was a great experience. To get out of the city. Let's say what it is. Just to get out of the city was a something special. So when I went out there, it was games every day. You're playing against different kids from different parts of Massachusetts. And I played well there, to the point where, Coach Kent, he kept putting in my ears like, James, you keep developing, you're going to be doing some special things in basketball. So he always encouraged me, even though we had a lot of good players on our team. You know what I'm saying? So he was a good coach. He gave me an opportunity, and he developed me. And I think that was the foundation of where, as I started to really, really transition. My godfather, I don't know if you've heard of him, Rodney Parker. He's the one who got me to go to McClancy. So.
Okay.
So I chose to go to McClancy over Newtown High School with Chris Sandy and Smush, or go to Tottenville in Staten Island. So my dad told me, my dad chose McClancy. So I ended up, for an hour and a half train ride, and I got another mile and a half walk from the train to McClancy. So it was just to
people don't know.
Start to. They don't know.
Yeah, that don't travel.
Yeah, I would be living on the train. You know what I'm saying? So looking for that dollar cab when I got off the Roosevelt Avenue station stop. So I remember those days. You know what I'm saying? A lot of basketball, and then that was another thing. A transition. Like in high school at PSL, you'll play. You work out for an hour and a half. McClancy, we go 3 hours. We go 3 hours, 4 hours every day. And then you got to get back on walk up another mile and a half, and then take the train for another hour. So it's like you on the train for 3 hours.
Right.
That's what. No traffic. No stopping at the train and stuff like that. So it definitely was a lot of walks. It was cold. I remember those days, and those days will always, live with me forever.
Yeah, and since we spent so much time in the basketball world, that kept us out of trouble, right? And I want to get to my next part where I first got introduced to you by this 60-second video online. You talking about getting the pass from like the neighborhood gangsters or hard rock or whatever we called them, because I remember going through that as well. And I connected with that. I remember I had to be like 88, 87, between 86 and 88. Well, it was before 50 Cent passed away. The original 50 Cent. I was coming from a game. Yeah, he called me over. He had a few of his goons. I thought something bad was going to happen, but he actually was telling me that I was a good ball player and I should stick with what I'm doing and not follow the guys out here shooting dice and getting into trouble. Then he proceeded to tell me, watch what I'm about to do to these guys who are playing dice. And he robbed the whole dice game. And he was saying, and he said, Slim, I told you all of them are pussy. Stay playing ball. And I was out of there. One of the greatest lessons. So that's why I don't look down the street guys. I don't stick my nose up at them. Because those guys back in the day were steering me in the right direction.
I agree. They did the same for me. One thing in my neighborhood, you knew when stuff was gonna go bad in New York, and I knew how it was in especially in my neighborhood. And the guys that were the street guys, they always looked out for me. It was like, get off the basketball court, stuff about to go down, stuff like that. And even people than their own stuff, like stuff will go down getting ready to go down in a tournament or what have you. And they always looked out for me. You know how it is in New York City sometimes. Like if you go at you start scoring on the wrong person, and people on the sideline start like instigating it, it could turn into a fight. Really. And to the point where people can get injured, and even worse, God forbid. And that was the environment that I grew up in, to the point where once I start really getting, talented and started solidifying myself, my name or what have you as a basketball player, they would come to, oh, you about to play in that tournament? I'm gonna meet you there. I'm gonna make sure you're straight. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make sure you're good. But it was, they saw a lot in me. They knew who my parents were. They knew who my family was. They knew we wasn't, caught in trouble and stuff like that. Especially my immediate family. And they knew that, and then they kept saying, James, you're not gonna live this life. So my hats off to them, and I'm forever grateful for them. When I go back home, I still make, go walking down the street, show them love and all that. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to get out of certain situations in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, facts.
It could have went left real quick. And I'm not talking about I never started nothing like that. I'm just talking about trying to go get buckets. You know what I'm saying? Just
but that's
get a bucket. So it could,
work
my
out.
to them and
That y'all, I'm gonna go back out and come back in because it's doing a lot of buffering. All right, I'm gonna come back out and come back in. All right. So we don't have to get down with those dudes. If we stay focused and stay on our path, they will respect us, and that's how you garner respect, by staying on your path and not trying to jump in somebody else's shoes. So. Oh man, like when I heard that, brother, I saw it a while ago and I came back to it because I saved it and then I posted it. But I saw that video maybe last year sometime. not last year, right before the pandemic.
Yeah,
And I saved it to my phone.
I did that video, I would say the beginning of last year. I was just having lunch and I was having lunch in Beverly Hills and just, just by myself, waiting for the next meeting. And this young lady just, I had my obviously my basketball game on and stuff like that. Asked me where I was from, stuff like that. And she just asked me, could she interview me? And, what's my story and stuff like that. And she was like, I told her, I was like, listen, do you want the corporate, information? You want the real information? I said, this is the real information, and that's what it was. That's just how the environment. It's about survival. It's not, you know what I'm saying?
That you guys, let's go back because you were buffering, so I didn't really get to hear the part where you explained how the lady walked up to you. You had the basketball gear on, and then you started buffering.
Yeah, I had the basketball gear on, and she asked me, she's like, "What's your story? You seem like an athlete." I told her what I did for a living, and I'm from New York. And once I said I was from New York, she was just like, "Oh wow, like can I interview stuff like that?" And I said, "Well, if you're interviewing me, you're gonna get you're gonna get some blunt answers that you may not, is something that you don't really say too much in a corporate environment. So
yes.
I'm gonna be cool with you." And she was cool with it, and I was just like, this is just how I was growing up in New York City, where you got to pass, even if you wasn't with your people, you got to pass to play in certain tournaments. You know what I'm saying? To make sure you was good. A lot of tournaments, I would be with some friends that were even way better than me. Chris Sandy being one of them, Smush Parker being another one.
Yes.
So they get love too. So we kind of went in groups. You know what I'm saying? To some of these tournaments and stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously outside of West 4th Street, I'm talking about the bad tournaments. You know what I'm saying? The tournaments that.
Oh, for sure.
So,
yeah. I see my guy Trey for 3 on here. Trevor Diggs' brother. You know what I'm saying? He's his older brother, actually, who kind of showed Trevor the way. We all from the same hood, and his family got a lot of respect because what his father was doing for the neighborhood and how his kids represented the right way. So we all got passes from those dudes, right? Because we did the right thing. So, and yo, Trey, salute everything you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, brother, keeping our streets safe. Thank you.
Shout out to you, Trey.
So, right after high school, there was another transition for you. Because what I'm seeing right now, you had a lot of different transitional aspects going on in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right? And you always met the challenge. So tell me about that transition from high school to college.
High school to college was different for me. New York City to living in Buffalo, New York. I started out at Canisius. Quickly realized no matter what, I wasn't gonna get an opportunity. That was a huge transition for me. So I ended up leaving Canisius to New York, and when I went there, came first team all conference to my senior, winning a conference championship. Doing a lot of special things from a basketball perspective, but most importantly, my grade point average went from like the 2s to like high 3s. So
nice.
I was honorable mention All-American for a few years. Did team in different categories and stuff like that. Historically, like I think like something like that. Things like that. But most importantly, that conference championship and the academics. Graduated with 2 degrees. I graduated with philosophy, major in philosophy and sociology, and then minor in law, financing, and marketing. So that was I kind of like threw everything together, and went to school 2 semesters plus summer school. Every summer, went to summer school, and then trained every day to get better. I definitely I knew I wasn't gonna make the NBA, but I knew I can get overseas. So that's what I did to pursue that transition. So and that was that.
Where did you play overseas?
I played overseas. It was very short, very, very short. I went to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and I quickly realized after Smush left. After Smush left LA, I went over there for about 2 months, and I just didn't. I already had my company running. I was developing a lot of athletes. I was working for Magic Johnson at the time. I was one of the managers at his facility in Bowen Hills. 24 Hour Fitness, Magic Johnson's 24 Hour Fitness, and because I already had like a strong foundation of players, but I still wanted to play. So I was like, well, if this is really, really what they say it's gonna be, and it just wasn't for me. And then I just left Malaysia and I came back to Los Angeles and continued where I left off at.
Listen, what a lot of players struggle with is that next part of their life. And a lot of people hide from it. They shelter themselves, and some of them even go into depression because they don't know what they're going to do after that ball start bouncing. And my guy, my sponsor over at Game Over, that's why he created his company, because he knew one day that the game was going to be over for him and what he was going to be able to do next. So I always kind of salute my guys who make it out of that transition to something that they love to do. Because a lot of people in this world doing things that they have to do for that check. And when you got guys who are doing things that they love to do, and girls, women, who are doing things that they love to do, that makes it even better.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I kind of got Smush becoming the starting point guard for the Lakers. Like that helped me with the transition. Actually, the first time I'm saying this publicly. I was always like I'm a philosopher. I'm a philosophy major. I kind of look at things differently. If you look at the Staples Center, right? A lot of those people, the first 10 rows, are a lot of people in the who's who. If you want to put it in a better choice of words, a lot of those people I became friends with. You know what I'm saying? Smush was on the court playing basketball, and these people that I was around that I became friends with, they were all business owners. So they started to teach me business. Like, James, yeah, Smush is doing well. We love stuff like that. We love you too. I want you to look at certain things a little bit differently than the way I originally would look at things. And they would take me under their wing and teach me. A lot of them. And it wasn't just one. It was just a whole bunch of people, season ticket holders. And they would teach me. And then on top of that, me training with Smush was the fact that I was around a lot of the coaches. So I would ask questions. I want to learn. It's like that whole, especially those 2 years, the first 2 years we was here, I learned so much, not just about business. I learned about so much more about basketball, and I learned about life and in which direction I wanted to go. So in the midst of all that, I met a family. It was 6 years old at the time, and the mom was like, James, I want you to help develop my son. And, she gave me an opportunity, and I just started training that little 6-year-old kid. And I think as I look back, I'm with Smush. So Smush is in the NBA mindset. So it's NBA mindset the whole time. But then I go to the 6-year-old kid, and I couldn't change it to a 6-year-old kid. I would treat him like I was trying to push a little bit, like it was aggressive. You can't
No, you can't. Definitely. Yeah.
But he absorbed it. And he became one of the top players in Southern California. Played Division I at Santa Barbara, and he just signed to play professional.
I think I saw that picture. I think I saw that picture you posted of him. Yes.
So that's 16 years ago.
Wow.
Throughout that whole time, I was transitioning. I was just transitioning as a person and becoming a business owner. And
right.
It went from that to still running Magic Johnson's 24 Hour Fitness to all these kids coming in. And then I started to see it as a business. not just something I love so much. I started to see it as a business, and most importantly, how am I gonna make a difference in these kids' lives? Like anybody could train anybody, but I want to make a difference in people's lives. So obviously, like when I started at 24 Hour Fitness, you know, the people are just like kind of looking at me like who's this guy? He's from New York, whatever the case may be. But when I bring Smush there, the kids is like, wow, we about to see this dude play at 7:30 tonight. He in the gym with Smush,
Right.
you know, and we go to the game. So the kids started to trust me, you know, and then you started that gym right there out of all gyms in Southern California, especially at the time, was just producing a stream of just Division I players, top high school players and Division I players, and then I was just, you know, it was a blessing to be part of that.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, and listen, you put in your time.
Yeah. It was a blessing. And then as I transitioned, I got an opportunity from a guy named Jerron Smith. He gave me an opportunity to do what I was doing at 24 Hour Fitness, to do with Jordan Brand. And I just pretty much took that opportunity and ran. I became the lead for all training for the West Coast for Jordan Brand and all development training. But then on top of that, I soon eventually became the gentleman, the Jordan by Vista. So all I would do is to be training and developing kids all day long. And that's when I rolled out my culture, and this is about 8-9 years ago. And then it just blew up from there. You know, you're training some of the top players in Southern California, and you know, then you're traveling around the country, training kids. You know, Chicago, New York, you know, major cities, Seattle, Portland, you know, all these different places, and just blessed to be able to do that and help give an impact, just fundamentally reinforcing fundamentals, you know. And then, but talking to them, not just in a basketball sense, but how are they going to learn from these lessons in the game of basketball, and then transition that in life? Because like you just said, a lot of players go into depression after basketball. That's their life, basketball. And yes, that's my life too. But I knew at some point I was going to stop dribbling the basketball. So I was blessed enough to be around, you know, given a platform, especially when I got out here, to be able to transition and be mentored by some of the best that do it, you know. And I didn't take it for granted. You know, even to this day, to some of my dearest friends, I just try to, you know, pick their brain apart on how I can continuously make an impact in these kids' lives, because that's what it's about. It's not about me.
Yep.
It's about next generation and leaving this world in a better situation than when I came into this world. And that's why I do it. That's why I call it purpose-driven training. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, that's one of the first lessons I teach in my mentor program is purpose, right? Tell kids and always ask them, you know, what's the purpose of you wearing sneakers? What's the purpose of you wearing clothes? What's the purpose of your phone? And then I ask them, what's your purpose? If everything else has a purpose, you got to kind of figure out your purpose. And it seems like you did that, brother. Instead of being in the front row, playing big time and, you know, living off your cousin's success, you was in there making moves. You was picking people's brains, being in the situation, being a fly on the wall. So definitely salutes to you.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm not gonna name who the people were because we don't want to like name drop, but let's just say
That's right.
there was some people in the public eye. I was having a conversation one day. We was at the game, and they told me. I mean, the first month I was, you know, dressed regular sweat outfit, Nike outfit, whatever the case may be. And they said, James, why don't you invest in suits? And I never forget it. I invested money in like 7-8 suits or 10 suits, whatever it was. And every single game, I would come into in a shirt, tie, suit, everything like that, and people started to see me different, and address me different, not just, you know, this guy or whatever. He's Smush's cousin or trainer or manager, however you want to. They wanted to categorize me at the time, and they started to treat me differently to the point where I became friends with them, and they became my mentors. And I saw my process. I'm not where you're at. I want to be where you're at. You inspire me. Tell me how you did it. And the thing about it is these people don't live my world. They didn't live my world growing up in New York City. They grew up a lot differently, and they inherited things, and their parents put them into another mindset.
Yes. Yeah.
I just asked them, how did you do that? What did you invest in? And I take little bits and pieces and put it into my regime so I can be one better person and a better role model, to these kids. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I have my own nucleus of my own family, but then I have tons of kids. We service 100-something kids a year, throughout the whole year, over and over and over again. And how can me as a person, me as a head of a company, help bridge the gap in the world, And a lot of these kids need basketball, and a lot of these kids love basketball, So how do we bridge that gap? And that's just by teaching and relating to those kids, And it's not just about basketball. Teach them about life. Like, you're gonna go through this next year. You're gonna go through this in 5 years. How start putting those seeds in their brain, So when they do start experiencing those things, they go, oh, coach said that, or however they address me, he said that. Be ready for certain, what I'm saying? Like, imagine if you knew what you knew now at 8 years old.
Yeah, true.
That's
and that's what we try to do here at Basketball Heads. So I kind of interview a lot of the guys who kind of set the foundation in New York City. And then when the basketball season starts, I'll be interviewing a lot of the high school ball players to kind of bridge that gap as well. So the young can learn from the old. And then the old can stay connected to the new generation.
Yeah.
Right? 2 questions. Spider. Basketball Head is a media company. We're not a basketball team. All right? And Pinnacle Basketball Coach asks, what is your big picture?
My big picture is to connect the East Coast to the West Coast. And
we need that. We need that.
One thing about Rodney Parker, I don't know if you know who Rodney Parker was, but he helped develop a lot of people in the basketball world. And every night I would speak to him, especially from 05 to 07, and he had really good friends. His best friend was Lenny Wilkins. We all know who Lenny Wilkins is. Like, he was the best
NBA legend, New York City legend. Yeah.
Shout out to Lenny. And he was a guy that he positioned players to play for certain people. Like I said, he sent me to Don Kent to start my basketball, to be around better basketball players. And he mentored me about this is not what you say, it's not what you say, it's how you do it. And one thing I vividly remember was, like, he used to piss me off. Like, I used to really get upset when I was younger, because he always said, Smush was, he said, yeah, James, you had 30, but Smush knows how to play and you don't. And it was just like, and I was like, why? I just had 30. Like, maybe I don't know how to play, But that was, him being gone, it started to sink in my brain. There's a way you do this. There's a way you develop players. You coach players differently. And even though it's the same message, sometimes you might have to go at a kid a little bit more aggressively, because he'll respond to you in an aggressive manner, as opposed to you may talk to another kid where you can just talk to him, a regular, and it'll sink in, all the same lesson, but it's my job to make sure that these kids, that I bring the best out of these kids, not just on the basketball court, but how to carry themselves. Like, I've seen a lot of kids, and I'm sure you have too, a lot of kids with a world of potential just throwing away their futures, not knowing how to carry themselves on the court. But believe it or not, with the blessing that we had, that these kids don't got, is we didn't have social media then.
Yes.
Now everything is under the radar. Now it's on the radar. Everybody sees what you do, and they become more opinionated. So now you got kids that they strive on the double clicks. How many likes did I get? It doesn't mean nothing. You know, it matters how you carry yourself, the type of person you are, and how you perform in the basketball court, and what type of student you are.
Yes.
You know, type of student. You know, and that's the thing is one thing I strive to do is develop these kids and position them to become on the next level and be successful at the next level. You know, not just he got to the next level, then so be it. No, be successful and go to even a higher level, and that's what I strive for. Like I like to sit back and go, you know what, I was part of that. You know what I'm saying? So, and just a small piece, but I want me and my company. You want to be that crucial bridge, and so that's why I see myself. You know, a lot of people, you know, they may message me or what have you. Oh, James, you know, you don't do enough in New York City, and eventually I was supposed to be in New York City this whole summer working.
Yeah, but first of all, people shouldn't be giving you slack for not being out in New York City when you live in LA.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping it a buck. Like,
yeah.
we have a lot of people here that's wasting some time. All right, so we should be focused on you coming back here when you're from here. And this is the reason why we celebrate you tonight, because you one of our own. You just happen to live in LA, and that's okay. That's okay. So just keep doing what you're doing, and eventually when you come back to New York, you will have a greater impact than when you left.
Yes, and I definitely will. I definitely want to, you know, I just did a run there last year. It was really good. My next culture run, I want to do an East Coast versus West Coast, the top talent in New York versus the top talent in Los Angeles.
Please, I want to be involved in that.
Yes. Trust
me. We can definitely put that together. I help you put that together. And I definitely want to cover that. Speaking of that, when you're talking about one of the best players in New York City, far as character on and off the court, one of the best lessons that I saw this past year, last basketball season, was when Banneker High School beat Boys and Girls. Who has Khalil Brantley?
Okay, I've heard of him.
Now, when I'm telling you, it was Jordan rules on Khalil Brantley that night. So Banneker was Detroit, giving Khalil Brantley the Jordan rules. And not only that, the refs wasn't giving him the all-star calls. I watched that kid get pushed to the floor, double, triple team, pushed to the ground. And I'm on the side with the head of the referees, the top people in the PSAL, Tom Kichowski, and a few other college coaches. And I'm just mentioning to everyone, this kid's demeanor has not changed once. He didn't pound the floor. He didn't go to the referees and say, why didn't you give me the call? He just kept playing, and they lost. So I watch all of those things. It's one of the things that my coach, Bobby Hartstein from Lincoln, always told us about. It's not about how well you do. It's about that face you make. It's about that reaction, because everybody's watching.
Yeah.
So I told that young man, I said, you just keep proving me right, man, because you're doing all the right things. I don't care about you losing. The fact that when you lost, you were still a winner because you didn't cower or you didn't fall to the pressures of being a superstar.
Yeah.
So I always use him as an example when I talk to other kids who kind of pound on the ground and scream at the referee. Like, that's not the way you go about the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and that's pivotal, how you carry yourself during adversity.
Yes.
A man's character is not when he's winning, it's when he is experiencing adversity and how is he going to react during that adversity. That shows you character. And that's what attracts coaches even more. Yeah, coaches looking, don't get me wrong, but if coaches can get, you know, a kid with a lot of talent that could deal with adversity and know how to carry themselves professionally, it makes them that much more attractive as a recruit.
Definitely. My guy Michael Thompson says James' passion and dedication in teaching basketball fundamentals is top notch.
I appreciate that, man, Mike. Thank you, man. I just one thing about this is, you know how it is growing up in New York, man. It's just, like I said, that's survival mode. When you're in that survival mode, you see a lot of, unfortunately, you see a lot of violence and things like that. You know, people losing their lives, and growing up and not really knowing that you're gonna really see your 20s, because people just lose their lives for whatever reason, just wrong place, wrong time, and that's just how it was. And I just got immersed with basketball and just fell in love with it, and I didn't really do nothing. I didn't want to do nothing. All I wanted to do, I was that 5 a.m. kid, in the projects, freezing cold, which is crazy. Like my dad, like people from Brooklyn are very serious.
Yes.
My dad is very serious. So, and I will share this. My dad, I was like 13 years old, and the coach told my dad, James doesn't dribble well enough. And for 2 years, pretty much every night, like on the Manhattan side, the Williamsburg Bridge.
Yeah.
Separate the bridge on Delancey Street.
Uh-huh.
You ready to go on the bridge? My dad will make me from 11 o'clock at night, 1:30 in the morning, dribble between those cones that separate the highway. The highway that goes
Yeah.
Manhattan, or you go to the Brooklyn, Williamsburg. And he would make me dribble for 2.5 hours every night. And like cars is honking, like, get this kid off the street, like what I would never do that to any of the kids. I didn't know no better. I just knew to do exactly what he said, so there's no problems.
Right.
He was very different about how he developed me, and I appreciate it now looking back. It was a very dangerous situation, but he wanted me to achieve, and he painted that picture in my mind, like, this is the only way you're gonna get out your living situation. This basketball right here. So it's like do or die. He's from Bedford-Stuyvesant, so it was like do.
That's right. Salute the star all day.
Yeah, he definitely made the biggest impact, and he's just so happy to be my father. He gave me life.
That's right, man. So let's talk about a classic game you saw in LA, right? That people are still talking about to this day. That we don't know about because we're in the East Coast. A lot of top-notch basketball go down in LA.
At what level, though, you're talking about?
Let's talk high school.
You want to talk high school? Okay. Okay. There was a game. See, I don't go to a lot of high school games. I don't go to a lot of high school games because I don't got time. There's so many kids we're developing. But I did go to some high school games because I was developing some of those kids that happened to be on the court.
Got you.
There was one kid, and in my opinion, he was the best high school player I saw, and from the time that I was here. All right. Crossroads was playing Sierra Canyon, right? And Marvin, the first time I saw Marvin Bagley play. My kid, Sharif, one of my clients, Sharif O'Neal, was, they're playing, they're going.
That's Shaq's son.
Yes.
You just can't mention that because people don't know what the hell you're talking about, especially on this side. That's Shaquille O'Neal's son, another guy who we trained. Yes.
That's his son. So they're playing. Sharif's playing well, stuff like that, and one of the coaches said something to him in the beginning. Like, he only had like 3 points in the first quarter, and somebody said something to him, and he turned to the front. And he was like, "Listen, I'm about to go off." So in the second quarter, I'm like, "All right, he's really that good. He gonna, whatever." That kid scored 25 points in the second quarter.
Second quarter.
It wasn't against the whole team. They were playing zone. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like he was dunking on people or anything like. And he caught a couple of nice dunks on the break, but it was everything. It was teardrops. It was threes. It was up and unders. It was fadeaways with his back to the basket. He was doing everything. And like, it was just like like you could tell that he was one and done. He was one of the very few players that I saw. I was like, oh, this kid's definitely one and done. There was no question he's one and done. You know, yeah, he was, in my opinion, he's
wow. Those special players always do it.
So he was.
Yeah, we back.
Yeah, he was very special at the high school level. Yeah.
How far is California ball ahead of New York City? Be honest, bro. Be honest. We both from New York. Keep it real.
I don't know New York City high school basketball like that, but this is what I will say. LA is less people, and it's a bigger platform. Like if you're good in LA, you're gonna have a platform. You know what I'm saying? There's tons of people in New York City in the hood that will never get a platform.
Facts.
So if you put them on the court with those people with the platform, there's a good possibility they'll be better than those people. But will they get that platform? So I'm not gonna say LA kids is good. Take nothing. Yo, these kids can go. You know, they're very athletic. There's some really special kids, especially the years that I've been going to these games. That little kid I helped develop, Max Heidegger, he was special. He had like 32 points a game in high school. You know, like you could just look at the clips. Like he was just different.
And they can play all year round. They can play all year round as well.
Yeah. That's another thing. In New York, it's freezing cold. You know, so your fingers is numb in October.
We definitely want to bridge that gap between New York and LA, brother. And I definitely know you the guy to do it.
Well, Leo, I left off. Yeah, I personally thought that Marvin Bagley was better. Him, DeMar DeRozan. I saw them. Brandon Jennings. Brandon Jennings was a killer. Oh my goodness. I mean, jeez.
I can imagine. And he did it his way too.
Oh yeah, Brandon walk in get 40 like quick. They left-handed, athletic, shoot, defend. He impressed me. Those three guys like really, and that guy, the other kid I told you about, Max Heidegger. Those 3-4 plays, I was just like, I mean, mind you, I didn't see all of high school basketball.
Right.
Sharif really impressed me to average like 28 and 15. He impressed me. There was some, California got some really good players. The new kid, he's at Arizona State right now, Josh Christopher. He's special.
Yes.
LaMelo Ball, you could tell he was special ever since a little kid. LA is producing a lot of, obviously James Harden, Russell Westbrook. They have some really, 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 really good players. So the difference between, I'm not saying that LA is better than New York. I would just say it's bigger platforms and it's hot year round. And it's a lot less people with a lot more resources.
Yeah, and listen, I can't count 5 guys in New York City who went to high-level Division I programs in the last 3 or 4 years. I'm talking about at least 5. We probably had them spread out in 5 years, but not like 5 or 10 guys leaving New York City to go to high Division I programs. That's the problem we're facing right now.
So you're saying that major Division I, New York City hasn't produced major Division I players lately?
No, if we are, they're leaving New York City, then they're going. They're not going straight from New York City to major Division I program.
Yeah, we already know they're going to prep school.
Yes.
They're going to prep school because they to get
right.
Out of them, and I respect that. I respect that. Out here, the schools, especially the basketball schools, they know how to, it's like prep school. You get what I'm saying? So, there's no need to get out of the city. There's so many people in New York City. You get what I'm saying? You could be great in your neighborhood, but never get the platform.
Yeah. You could be great at your high school and never get the platform.
Exactly. because there's so many kids. So, I mean, obviously, if you're not in the rankings, or if Tom Kukowski didn't give you that love, and it's not like Tom has thousands of kids to look at every single year. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to rank you or whatever the case may be. And college coaches are only going to really look at the ones on the top of that list. From my experience, you know? So, or whoever plays for the top AAU teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I mean, I guess the
Who
goal
are some of them?
is to play on the Nike or the Adidas circuit, you know?
Right. Outside of Sharif O'Neal, and the guy you mentioned that you were training since 6 years old, who are some of the other people that you train? I see Marques Johnson was on your website. It's a guy who I looked up to coming up.
Marques Johnson, I train both his, all three of his sons, and now I'm training his daughter, his 11-year-old daughter. She's real good. You know, the whole Johnson family is real good. Like they're good basketball players. Another really good kid that was just so skilled, in my opinion, kid named Chris Sandifer. Lost contact with him, but if you Google that kid, in my opinion, there's a team called the Oakland Soldiers out here, which is a very, very good AAU team. Much respect to them. But that kid was one of the top high school players I saw. And the kid named, also another kid that I played against a lot and was in a lot of workouts with. Him and Victor Rudd. There's a kid named Victor Rudd. Well, he's a grown man now. Victor Rudd was very special. He played out here, and then he went to Findlay Prep, and then now he's playing professional basketball overseas. He was, you know, there's a lot of guys. You know what I'm saying? Tyler Dorsey. He's playing in Tel Aviv right now.
Yeah.
The other kid. Watch out for this dude. People don't give him respect like that, but he's in the NBA right now. Bobo. Watch out for Bobo.
Oh, Bobo. Oh, for sure. I never doubted him. I like his game.
Special. I've never seen a 7'3" guard. Like, and it's not like he's like losing the ball. He's special. Ever since I saw him in 9th grade, I said that kid's ridiculous. So him, Cassius Stanley is another really good player. Played very well at Duke. You know, it's just a lot of players in LA, you know, that do well. So, you know.
All right, your top 5 New York City players
Of my era.
Ever. It could be your era. Just your top 5, the one that's special to you.
Stephon Marbury.
My guy.
I don't know why. Yo, Steph was the truth. You got to put Kareem. Kareem is the best player to ever come out of New York. You know, you got to do that. It's a good Lenny Wilkins.
Yep, that's 3.
I'm gonna be like, people don't show him love, and even though he's my family, name a dude that you seen.
I say that again. Who was the person you named?
Smush Parker. How do you become the starting point guard from the Lakers from the Park? He went 1 year high school, 1 year college, NBA. All these guys, all time, everything. You go Kemba Walker, you go Deron Lamb, all these other people, you know, Jason Williams, all these really good basketball players. They have platforms. Smush worked his way up, and I know, you just don't become it. You know, maybe I have a biased opinion, but he's
a one-on-one. He's a one-on-one. They don't make him like that no more.
They don't make him like that. Like you don't get drafted and you started for Cleveland that year, LeBron's senior year. How does that happen? Like, I mean, I don't know. Usually when you don't get drafted and you make the team, you ride the bench. You don't.
Fact.
You know, put it like this. I had a conversation with his coach, Coach Lucas, right? And he was like, Smush is really, really good. He's better. He should have been drafted in the first round. He told me that to my face. You know, okay, Grant Smith didn't get drafted, but contrary to opinion, you don't start from not getting drafted to going overseas.
You're riding the bench
in Greece, and then in the matter of the summer, when we got out here, you become the starting point guard for the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Like that just doesn't happen. You know, I don't.
No, I definitely that definitely deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, people don't, and it's not because he's my family. It's just, yo, the dude started in the backcourt with Kobe Bryant. He played for Phil Jackson. He is the starting point guard for the most recognizable team in the world. You don't, you know, and this is just throwing him in, you know, showing him his love because that dude, like what was Manhattan's coach's name? Back then, he was with Luke Flores and them, the head coach of Manhattan College.
I can't remember, but I know who you're talking about.
It was him, Rodney, and I forgot who Sonny Vaccaro. They're all sitting there talking, right? And Rodney named Kareem, Lanny, all these other people, right? And he says, who's the best guard to come out of New York City? Say, you know, everybody thinks he's going to say Lenny Wilkins. That's his best friend, stuff like that. Rodney was like, Smush Parker, no question. I was like, wow. And he's like, he's like, because you love the kid. He says, no, there's something different about Smush. You know what I'm saying? And I just didn't think that I think if he'd have stayed in the league a little bit longer and things didn't go the way he did, I think he could have been an NBA All-Star, would have been one of the all-time greats. You get what I'm saying? I think he just needed more time. But in terms of skill and the way he understood the game and the huge progression that he made, given that he didn't have a solid platform or a long-term contract, pretty much his whole NBA career, he had to make the team. And
wow,
Phil Jackson doesn't start nobody that's not legit, in my opinion.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? So, Smush Parker is definitely, in my opinion, top 5 New York City players. I don't care if he didn't achieve this and this and this and that. You know, all those guys have platforms. It'd have been, you know, he just kept bouncing around throughout the league but making it. And those 2 years he played for the Lakers, you know, it was special. How many players played from New York played for the Lakers? Lamar, Ron.
Yeah.
Who else?
Yeah, not that many.
Not that many.
He's in a special class.
A special class.
Smush is supposed to have been on the show a few months ago, but we had kept running into scheduling conflicts. So definitely get back to him and let him know that you was in the show.
Oh, yeah. Smush's basketball mind is put like this. I saw Smush compete and like hold his own and then some against 2-time MVP those 2 years against Steve Nash. I sat in the front row and I saw him take the ball like 3-4 times in a row on Steve Nash in a row. Like,
that don't happen.
I sat there like I'm like, no, this is the MVP, and Smush was like, I'm just gonna hound him. I'm gonna hound him. You know, Smush made the NBA because he had long arms. He was athletic. He could shoot. He knew how to play, and he could play with other players. He didn't have to be the best player. He was that support guy. And I just think that, you know, out of all these people, he, in my opinion, he definitely is one of the best players that ever come out of New York. Because of that franchise. Let me look at it. Who does that? Who does that? Name one another player besides Lamar and Ron.
You ain't getting no argument from me.
Like, there's no question.
Salute to Smush and all the things he accomplished.
Oh, yeah. And 1 year high school basketball, he went to Newtown 1 year, Fordham 1 year league. No, all these other guys we talk about did 4 years high school, 2-3 years of college or whatever it was, or even one. So I think Ron came out his second year, Lamar came out his first year. And then, but they had big platforms. They were the All-American. They were one of the top players in the country. Smush was never one of the top players in the country at any level. He was never he wasn't top 10. But you know one thing about Smush? I never forget. I'll tell this story. We at West 4th Street one day, right? And Rodney come on the court. And he like, y'all about to go to play ABCD camp. Remember ABCD basketball camp back then with Sonny and all
Yes.
that? The top, like it was like the All American camp. Smush was like,
It was held in my school in Fairleigh Dickinson.
Fairleigh Dickinson. So we go, and I never forget it. We get on a PATH train, we go all the way out to Fairleigh Dickinson. It's me, Smush, Chris Sandy, and Rodney. So Smush is playing against a guy. He's like, Smush like, Rodney's like, James, you about to tell Smush he's gonna play against this guard. He was that time going to Duke. A guy named Chris Duhon. Right? I'm sitting there, and this is, we just left the park. We just played like 3 games. Smush gets on the court. All these college scouts, all that, NBA scouts, and Smush. He had like 40.
Damn.
Like, and I never forget it. George Carl, remember George Carl, the old coach from the Seattle Sonics? George is like, hold on. Like, hold on, this kid just came in the park. He literally gave him a jersey, Smush went to work. And that was against Chris Duhon. And Rodney goes, Rodney's voice is like, ranking's gonna be nothing. It's what you do in these 4 lines. And I know that Rodney, shout out to the, God bless the dead, my godfather Rodney, he helped position Smush so he can get the platform when he needed the platform. You know what I'm saying? So, and that was the thing, that whole time, and he would mentor me. So, and that was the thing. I've been blessed to be around some really good basketball minds, and all I want to do, is just continuously what I learned and continuously get better every day so I can help make the difference. You know what I'm saying? Hold on a second.
Well, you're definitely doing that, my brother. Appreciate having you on the show.
I appreciate it, man. Anything else?
Definitely, man.
Any other questions? We good?
Let me see. Can you give some advice to a kid out there who may not see themselves as being one of the top ball players and find it hard to do something else in life?
The word of advice I can give players, use basketball to its fullest extent. It could take you anywhere you want. Just because you may not be the most talented player, there's going to be a transition at some point. So find what you love to do, and then you do it. But me, as a living example, I use basketball and my knowledge for the game and my love for the game to open up doors for me. The problem in this world is that so many kids feel as though, and that's why you said depression, so many kids feel as though they have to play NBA basketball. But there's 45 jobs a year in the NBA. After all these millions and millions of people. And even though I never played in the NBA, I'm still doing what I love to do. And that's the thing. You're gonna get a lot of shut doors. I got a lot of shut doors. Even to this day, a door may shut down for me. Understand that, I'm a firm believer in faith, and I look back at a lot of doors that were closed that really got me upset, or things that didn't work out for me, and I realized that was God's plan, and God shutting that door for a bigger door to open. So trusting the man upstairs, and then trusting your instincts, and don't overreact just because a door doesn't open. I think that's very important that kids understand that. And there's gonna be adversity. The biggest transition in my life was those 2 years. In those 2 years, I lost a lot of family members. Rodney Parker being one of them. Both my parents being, added to that list. And I didn't let that deter me from what I wanted to do. Yeah, things happen in life and stuff like that, but you must envision and see yourself to get to the next level. And the biggest thing is to see yourself there, and don't study. One of the biggest things I learned in my transition here is study the greats. Ask questions when you're around the greats. Absorb the information. And the new generation, you guys got YouTube, and you got all these social media sites, and you can literally YouTube greats and study what they're doing, because there's clues there, so you could take those little cute clues. You know, one guy I study is hey, Jay-Z, man. Jay-Z made it out. You know, contrary to opinion, whatever he did, but he made it out, and
That's right.
He made it out, and he's made something of himself. And you know, I started another dude, big Shaq. He basketball. You know, how many players you know in the NBA playing the NBA X amount of years and they're broke within 5 to 10 years of retirement. No, he turned his into a enterprise, a friend, you know, an empire. You know, that's one of the smartest businessmen I know. You know, and I think people like that, I strive to continuously study what they're doing, and just take little bits, but then knowing there's going to be bumps in the road, and how you deal with adversity is going to tell you what type of person you are. You know, no matter what happens, but always know that you're great before anybody thinks you are.
Appreciate that. And you young guys, take heed to what he just said, because a lot of lessons in that. Yeah, where do you see your company, Purpose Driven Training, in the next 5 years?
Franchised. My company will definitely be franchised. We're based out here in Southern California. We've done some global work. We've done quite a few global camps and stuff like that. But I feel like I see my company being franchised, where we're coming into different cities and we're teaching a culture. You know, the biggest thing, like I said, when I transitioned here, was the training. The first guy I saw train out here, the first trainer, and people don't even know who he is like that, but I know who he is, and then you know he is, Norm Nixon.
Yes.
Norm Nixon was the first NBA workout I went to. And
wow.
Yeah, that was at 24 Fitness. He was doing NBA workouts, and I mean, that's my guy, Norm. Norm just knew. I mean, obviously, playing the league, got NBA championship rings. You know, he knew it was just a different level of training. And then when I got to, you know, with Smush, and I started to see Kobe. When I started to see Kobe, I immediately knew that, yeah, I work hard, but that dude is working harder and smarter. You get what I'm saying? And you have to envision yourself, and you have to sacrifice. You know, that's one thing about him. He sacrificed to where he, you know, for all the things that he achieved in his life. Are you willing to sacrifice? The young generation is the ones who I'm talking to right now. Are you willing to forget that party and go work out? Are you willing to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and shovel the snow? You know, are you willing to do all that? Run 2, 3, 4, 5 miles in the morning in the freezing cold before school? You know, are you willing to stay late after practice? You know, I just me and so I remember coming from, you know, going to McClancy and being done at like 5, 6, and then be at Gaucho's practice at 7:30. So I'll go from Queens to 149th Street in Grand Concourse. We just do 2 workouts and then take the train back home, another hour and a half back from the Bronx.
Dang, so you hitting 3 boroughs. You hitting 3 boroughs a day.
Like, it was, I mean, do you want it that bad? You know, and I'm not just talking about basketball, whatever it is in life that you want, there has to be sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice for where you want to be at? And if you're not willing to sacrifice, it's going to be harder to get there. Are you? You know, you got to answer, you can pretty much answer your own questions. You know what I'm saying? Do you want to be great? And greatness, the recipe for greatness is hard work. There's no other equation. There's not a formula and stuff like that. One thing I did learn from my most learning experiences, especially in the transition of training kids, every kid's different. Every kid didn't grow up the way you did. And sometimes you know, like I said earlier in this live, understand the personality of the kids so you could teach them the lesson. It's not necessarily tell the kid the answer. It's show the kid what you're talking about so he can formulate his own opinion. You get what I'm saying? And it's about preparing.
You like that?
Nah, that's dope, man. I appreciate that. Can I get a picture of that? What you saying?
hey.
I was gonna leave you with this. In developing kids, when you say where you see me in 5 years, I'm gonna keep doing what I learned. Um, but the most important thing with developing a player is there's addition. What comes next? Subtraction, then multiplication, then division. If anybody knows who I am, that knows me well, you know, like a lot of people, they want to get NBA clients and stuff like that. They want to get, oh, I want to get this guy and whatever, and I'm gonna get him in a workout and whatever. It makes me look credible. Um, with all due respect, I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? I've trained at every level. I'd rather get a 6-year-old kid with a blank canvas, you know, and teach him addition, teach him how to then teach him subtraction, multiplication, division, so on and so forth. But the biggest thing is have them master it, master addition, because you know in school you don't get to subtraction unless you master addition. So if you
That's
can't
right.
you can't put the ball on the floor and you can't play D, why are you doing 75,000 moves? And I think that's what's hurting. The social media to a certain degree is a good outlet, and to a certain degree it's a bad outlet, to the point where kids don't know how to play. And that's one thing. And you know, the times that I saw Kobe work out, he would do the same exact move for hours and hours. I mean, it wasn't nothing extra. It was nothing fancy about it, but he mastered it. And that's why I try to teach these kids. I'd walk in the workout with a kid or two kids or whatever amount of kids it is, and go, we're gonna shoot 1,500. We're gonna shoot 2,000 of this, and we try to like 2-3 moves. And it's like, you know, we keep doing these moves, but if you master it and you can't get it wrong, then what? It's chances are it's gonna go. You're gonna be more efficient on the court, and that's how you're evaluated to open up doors. You know, basketball has. So I'm gonna continuously learn, continuously teach, and strive to make a difference in these kids' lives. That's it.
Definitely doing that, my brother. I just want to commend you for what you're doing. It seems like you got your head on right, and you focus on the right things. You focus on making change and helping the next generation. Everything else, all the rewards will follow, and obviously they have. How well you're doing.
Appreciate you, brother.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I want to keep these lines open between us so we can kick it some more on the phone and, you know, try to bridge that gap between the East and the West Coast.
I appreciate that, man. Yo, do me a big favor. Could you send me a picture of that that you drew? This screenshot and
that's yours. Fam. Yes, we drew that for you.
No, I really, really appreciate that. If you could just screenshot and send it, you know, text me or whatever, and I really appreciate that, man. It means a lot, man. Okay.
Fam, you're getting the picture.
Oh, I'm getting.
I'm not screenshotting anything. You're getting the original.
I appreciate it, man.
Yep, you're getting the original. This is what we do on Basketball Heads for our guest, our resident artist, who's also a ball player and coach, but his passion is being an artist.
I appreciate that, man.
So we want to make sure that, you know, we kind of immortalize you guys and give you a piece of Basketball Heads so you have it forever.
Forever grateful, man. Thank you for having me, all right?
No doubt. And before we leave, we ask you to nominate someone to be on the show, because that's how you get on the show, is by nomination. Or like myself, I just found you on the internet and you inspired me, so I wanted to talk to you.
Mega. Arnell, great trainer out in LA. I speak to him a lot. Him and Jason Kerry, who runs Big Apple Basketball. I played for him. Just real deep, you know, into the game of basketball. You know, those are definitely two people that when I do come to New York City, those are two people that I definitely link up with, you know, when I'm working out and stuff like that.
All right, so shoot them a message and call them, and then hit me back with your info and we'll make it happen.
I definitely will, man. I appreciate you, brother, and thanks again, man, for having me, all right?
Thanks a lot, James.
All right, now.
Continued success.
You too, brother.
You like that?
That's dope, man. I appreciate that. Can I get a picture of that? What you saying?
Hey, hey.
I was gonna leave you with this. In developing kids, when you say where you see me in 5 years, I'm gonna keep doing what I learned. Um, but the most important thing with developing a player is there's addition. What comes next? Subtraction, then multiplication, then division. If anybody knows who I am, that knows me well, you know, like a lot of people, they want to get NBA clients and stuff like that. They want to get, oh, I want to get this guy and whatever, and I want to get him in a workout and whatever. It makes me look credible. Um, with all due respect, I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? I've trained at every level. I'd rather get a 6-year-old kid with a blank canvas, you know, and teach him addition, teach him how to then teach him subtraction, multiplication, division, so on and so forth. But the biggest thing is have them master it, master addition, because you know in school you don't get to subtraction unless you master addition. So if you
That's
can't
right.
you can't put the ball on the floor and you can't play D, why are you doing 75,000 moves? And I think that's what's hurting. The social media to a certain degree is a good outlet, and to a certain degree it's a bad outlet, to the point where kids don't know how to play. And that's one thing. And you know, the times that I saw Kobe work out, he would do the same exact move for hours and hours. I mean, it wasn't nothing extra. It was nothing fancy about it, but he mastered it. And that's why I try to teach these kids. I'd walk in a workout with a kid or two kids or whatever amount of kids it is, and go, we're gonna shoot 1,500. We're gonna shoot 2,000 of this, and we try to like 2-3 moves. And it's like, you know, we keep doing these moves, but if you master it and you can't get it wrong, then what? It's chances are it's gonna go. You're gonna be more efficient on the court, and that's how you're evaluated to open up doors. You know, basketball has. So I'm gonna continuously learn, continuously teach, and strive to make a difference in these kids' lives. That's it.
Definitely doing that, my brother. I just want to commend you for what you're doing. It seems like you got your head on right and you focus on the right things. You focus on making change and helping the next generation. Everything else, all the rewards will follow. And obviously they have how well you're doing.
Appreciate you, brother.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I want to keep these lines open between us so we can kick it some more on the phone and, you know, try to bridge that gap between the East and the West Coast.
I appreciate that, man. Yo, do me a big favor. Could you send me a picture of that that you drew? This screenshot and
that's yours. Fam.
Yeah.
Yes, we drew that for you.
No, I really, really appreciate that. If you could just screenshot it and send it, you know, text me or whatever, and I really appreciate that, man. It means a lot, man. Okay.
Fam, you're getting the picture.
Oh, I'm getting.
I'm not screenshotting anything. You're getting the original.
I appreciate it, man.
Yep, you're getting the original. This is what we do on Basketball Heads for our guest, our resident artist, who's also a ball player and coach, but his passion is being an artist.
I appreciate that, man.
So we want to make sure that, you know, we kind of immortalize you guys and give you a piece of Basketball Heads so you have it forever.
Forever grateful, man. Thank you for having me, guy.
No doubt. And before we leave, we ask you to nominate someone to be on the show, because that's how you get on the show, is by nomination. Or like myself, I just found you on the internet and you inspired me, so I wanted to talk to you.
Mega. Arnell, great trainer out in LA. I speak to him a lot. Him and Jason Kerry. Jason Kerry, who runs Big Apple Basketball. I played for him. Just real deep, into the game of basketball. Those are definitely two people that when I do come to New York City, those are two people that I definitely link up with. When I'm working out and stuff like that.
All right, so shoot them a message and call them, and then hit me back with the info and we'll make it happen.
I definitely will, man. I appreciate you, brother, and thanks again, man, for having me. All right.
Thanks a lot, James.
All right now.
Continued success.
You too, brother.